Hola chicos, bienvenidos a mi canal Español con Juani. Today we're going to go through one verb in particular that if you can master this, it'll make a massive difference to your overall Spanish conversation. However, at the same time, this verb does often, in my experience, get overlooked by a lot of beginner and intermediate Spanish students. So what verb am I talking about? I am talking about the verb tardar. Now, when it comes to expressing taking time to do certain actions, as we'd say it in English, when we look at it in Spanish, there's normally three ways you can go about it. It's either using the verb tardar, durar, or llevar. So they all have their different contexts in this particular context of taking time. However, in my experience, tardar is the most commonly used one. So if you can really get a grip on the verb tardar, it really makes it a lot easier to identify when to also use those other verbs llevar and durar in this context. So in a nutshell, moving forward, we'll go through some examples, we'll break them down grammatically, and then we'll finish it all off with a little quiz at the end so that by the end of this video, you'll have a better understanding on how to utilize these verbs and how they can benefit your overall Spanish conversation. Now, let's get started. Para empezar, and I know a lot of you guys can probably relate to this one, mi novia siempre tarda muchísimo en ducharse. Mi novia siempre tarda muchísimo en ducharse. So my girlfriend always takes a long time to shower. Nice, simple one to start with. Let's try another example. Ayer tardamos mucho en llegar al aeropuerto. Ayer tardamos mucho en llegar al aeropuerto. So yesterday, it took us a long time to get to the airport. Looking good. Let's try another example. Hoy estoy súper cansado. Anoche tardé muchísimo en dormirme. Anoche tardé muchísimo en dormirme. So last night, it took me a really long time to fall asleep. Buen trabajo, chicos. Now, are you starting to see and understand the grammar behind it? It's pretty simple. All we simply do is conjugate the verb tardar. We then can use words like mucho or muchísimo or un montón to really emphasize the period of time or the amount of time that's taking us to do certain things. Then we say en, and then we use another verb which we can use in its infinitive form. So grammatically speaking, very simple, but you can probably see by these three examples how useful the verb tardar is. Let's try a few more examples. Tardó 45 minutos en llegar al trabajo. Tardó 45 minutos en llegar al trabajo. So I take 45 minutes to get to work. Let's finish it off with one more example. So what if I wanted to ask you a question like, how long does it take you to get to work? Or how long does it take you to get to the office? ¿Cuánto tardas en llegar a la oficina? ¿Cuánto tardas en llegar a la oficina? Nice work, everyone. So sorry to harp on about it again, but are you starting to understand just how useful the verb tardar is in everyday Spanish conversation? As I said, if you can really start to get a grip on it, it'll really improve your overall conversational skills. But I know what you're probably thinking, Juani, what about if I want to use the verb durar? What is the difference between durar and tardar? So it is a common question. It's a very good question. The verb durar talks about or expresses the duration of a certain event or a certain situation. So we'll go through some examples and you'll see it's quite different. For example, how long does a movie last? Or la película dura 2 horas. La película dura 2 horas. So the movie lasts or goes for 2 hours. Or another one, la reunión duró 40 minutos. La reunión duró 40 minutos. So the meeting lasted or went for 40 minutes. El concierto dura 3 horas. El concierto dura 3 horas. So the concert lasts for 3 hours. In a nutshell, that is the verb durar. So talking about the duration of time of a particular event or situation. Now, you're probably thinking, Juani, what about the verb llevar in the context of talking about a period of time that we've been doing an action? So llevar in this context is different because llevar implies that we're talking about a period of time and we've been continuously doing that particular action. But also, if we're saying it in the present tense, it also implies that we're still doing this action even now. For example, personalmente llevo 7 años aprendiendo español. Llevo 7 años aprendiendo español. So I have been learning Spanish for 7 years. So see how it implies that I've been studying Spanish. Yes, so I'm doing a particular action, but it implies that I've been continuously doing this action and I'm even doing it even at this present moment. I hope that makes sense. I don't know if the way I explained it does make sense at all. Maybe you'll have to try a few examples for yourself, but let's try another example in this context using llevar. Llevo 10 años viviendo en Australia. Llevo 10 años viviendo en Australia. So I have been living in Australia for 10 years. Moving forward, I've got a little quiz for you. So to help wrap it all up, I've got 3 questions for you. I'm going to put a sentence in front of you in English, and I'm going to give you 10 seconds to translate it back to me in Spanish. Of course, if you do need more time, feel free to hit pause on the video. So the main focus is identifying which context we use tardar, durar, and llevar. So see how you go. El número uno. My son always takes a long time to finish his homework. So I know a lot of you parents will be able to relate to this one. My son always takes a long time to finish his homework. This time you'd say, mi hijo siempre tarda mucho en terminar su tarea. Mi hijo siempre tarda mucho en terminar su tarea. Moving forward, el número 2. This time you'd say, él lleva 4 años estudiando. Él lleva 4 años estudiando. Lucky last. This time, how would you say? The trip lasts 4 weeks. The trip lasts 4 weeks. This time you'd say, el viaje dura 4 semanas. El viaje dura 4 semanas. Nice work, everyone. So how did you go during that quiz, and are you starting to understand the concept of those verbs in this particular context better? If so, you know the drill. The best way to improve or add this to your conversation is to go out there and start trying some of your own examples in the next few conversations you have in Spanish. As always, if I can be of any assistance with anything else, please don't hesitate to leave a comment or a question in the comment section below, and I'll see you all in the next one. Hasta